All right, welcome to this presentation, Get Started with Revit API using Python. I'm really excited to present on this Autodesk University 2024. Firstly, I want to ask you, are you ready to become the next Revit hero for your office? And the reason I ask it is because many people come with the wrong mindset to different presentation. They come to presentation, but they don't expect to learn anything. They think they already know everything and they don't want to change, right? But if you come to this presentation with the right mindset, I think you're going to get really a lot from this presentation. Not just the information, but I'm also going to provide you different things. Firstly, a little bit about me. My name is Eric Fritz, and in general, I teach Revit users how to get started with Revit API. I do this on YouTube, LinkedIn, newsletter, blog, and also on my course platform, learnrevitapi.com. And during this presentation, I'm going to teach you how to become Revit hero who can create custom tools for Revit without struggling for months learning Revit API. And if you're going to stay until the end, you will also get various freebies during this presentation, and I hope you're going to like them. But first, let me ask you something. Have you already tried learning Revit API before? And during this presentation, I will be asking you questions. You can answer me in the chat. I have it right here, so I will see. Not yet. Okay, yes. So maybe some of you tried Dynamo, but you were too tired being too dependent on custom packages and not always easy to share with the colleagues. Maybe you opened Python Node, but you didn't know what to write inside. Or maybe you don't even know Python yet. Maybe you tried pyRevit, but you still have no idea how to translate your ideas into actual code so you can execute and automate something. Maybe you even opened Revit API and you were completely lost and overwhelmed because of the amount of information there, and you probably didn't even know where to kind of pay attention. All right, I can see some people know pyRevit, some no, that's great. And listen, if you found it hard, that's okay. It's not your fault. You just needed a roadmap to learn Revit API. Revit API is not an easy topic, and when you begin, if you don't even know where to start, it's really hard to concentrate and focus on the things that you need to start with. And I also want to point your attention that you don't need to be a coding expert, right? As there is this famous quote, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And this is where pretty much all of us start. We don't know anything, and somehow we begin with the coding. Maybe we just dive straight into pyRevit, Dynamo, and we just learn on the go. But I know that many of you have objections. Probably many of you think that you've never coded before. You're too busy to learning to code, and you don't even know where to start, and that's okay. These are the three most common objections I hear when I talk about programming. And if you've never coded before, first of all, Python basics are really easy to learn to get started with, and you don't need to be an expert. There is really not so much that actually you need to get started with. If you're too busy to learning to code, coding is actually what will give you your time back. Many don't realize, but coding is one of the greatest way to leverage your time. Because you will write your code once, and then you will be able to reuse it over and over, and keep saving time over and over. So it's more like investment of your time into the code, which will bring you back time in your future. And lastly, if you don't know where to start, I will provide you a roadmap during this presentation. Right? But you should be ready to do the work, because you will need to learn Python basics. You will need to learn Revit API basics. And you will also need to start with the simple tools before you will actually jump to your dream tools. This is just natural how it goes. But that's how you become the Revit hero your office needs. You need to put enough effort in the beginning so then you can actually start automating it. But imagine once you know all of that, what it's gonna do for your career, what it will look like. Imagine if you can create your custom tools for your specific needs in your office. Because as we know it, finding the right plugin is never easy and probably most of the time impossible. You will be able to automate different repetitive tasks that waste a lot of time on every project, or maybe even on every week on the same project. And you'll be able to step up your career and become irreplaceable and open new opportunities for yourself. Would it all be worth it to kind of spend this time learning all of it to just achieve all of that? My goal with this presentation is to help two types of people. Firstly, absolute beginners. You don't know anything about programming, but you're willing to learn. And for you, during this presentation, you will receive my StarterKit, ebook, Revit API resources, and framework on how to save months. But there are also people watching right now who are like Revit API experimenters. Maybe you've already started and you even created a few tools, but you still struggle with the basics and you need some help. And probably you don't even know what kind of basics you are missing. And for you, I will be able to point you to these Revit API basics and provide you code samples that you need and you can put right away into in practice. And you will also learn about the framework and how to save months learning Revit API. So which one are you? Just write me in the chat. Are you an absolute beginner or are you like a Revit API experimenter? Maybe you played with Dynamo, pyRevit. Just let me know in the chat where you are right now in your journey. All right, beginner. Okay, a few experimenters. Okay, so I think there's like 70-30, maybe even 60-40, majority beginners, but that's okay. Great. And are you ready to learn more about Revit API and pyRevit? Because in the next 55 minutes, I'm gonna go through and explain you how to get started with pyRevit in just a few minutes. Then we will go and have a look where and how much Python do you actually need to learn. And I'm gonna provide you a beginner's guide to Revit API, like a step-by-step guide that you can follow and find a lot of resources. And this roadmap will save you months learning Revit API. And in general, are you excited about what we're gonna learn, right? Are you excited to learn about pyRevit, Python, Revit API? So first of all, let me begin with why should you even listen to me? Because you just come to presentation, some of you know about me, some see me for the first time. And I help thousands of people to get started with Revit API. I created hundreds of add-ins, I published my favorite tools in EF Tools extension, which is free for everyone. I created ebooks, StarterKits for Revit API beginners, and I saved hundreds of hours with my tools for the office where I worked, and also helped many others to do the same. But it wasn't always that way. A few years ago, I was just like you. I was just sitting there and thinking everything is fine. I knew nothing about coding, I never heard of pyRevit before, I kept doing the same repetitive tasks in Revit manually and not even looking for any alternatives. I could never find the right add-ins because it took hours and they never worked like I wanted, and I found more workarounds than solutions to my problems. But there had to be a better way, and that's where my journey began. One day, I was just sitting at the desk, just working in Revit as usual, and then I overheard my bosses speak about one of the projects I was part of. It was a high-rise project, 35 stories, and they said that we need to design a new facade because our client wanted to change it. And this is how this facade actually looks like. On this facade, you will see that there are these kind of curves going over the facade, and we place large panels in there. It goes right here, here, and everywhere. And then in between, we had to calculate a lot of like smaller panels. You can also see it here. This is the large panels. And we had to create like an algorithm to calculate all the panels in between. And additional goal we had for this project is also to reduce the typology. Because before that, our facade was more boring and also the typology was not great. We had too many types for no reason. So these were the two goals we needed. And this project was made by RLP. This is the architectural office in Austria where I worked. It was clear that we needed something like Dynamo, but nobody knew Dynamo in the office. I knew a little bit because I watched some videos before that, but I never did anything with them. And probably many of you can relate. How many of you have watched some tutorials on Dynamo, Python, programming, Revit API, but you never put it to practice, right? You always think like, one day maybe I'm gonna use it. And listen, this is how it often starts, right? We have a deadline and we need a Dynamo script or Revit API script because there is no way we could do this kind of design manually. And this was me not knowing Dynamo. I was completely terrified, but I knew a little bit more than everyone else, so I got very lucky that I was given this task. So we decided to try anyway, and I started making the spaghetti monster. There were a lot of steps that we need to go through, but we just thought logically, okay, we're gonna get floors, we're gonna get lines somehow, we're gonna find the intersection, and we just kind of made this step by step. It took me somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks to create a proof of concept. And this is just proof to us that, all right, it looks like we actually can make it. It was not perfect, it was not good, but somehow it worked, and that's all we needed at the time. But there was a major problem. It took 40 minutes to execute. And even though it sounded reasonable placing 15,000 panels, 40 minutes was just horrible. It means that every time I click on run, I just had to sit there and do nothing, or go for a walk, or just drink tea, coffee, anything. And then I found an issue. My code worked fine until one specific point, and then one node slowed down everything significantly. This is pretty much where majority of time was. And it was just a single node. The problem was I couldn't replace it with anything else. I looked at all the other packages, but they just didn't work, right? There was nothing close to this node, and this one was completely inefficient. So out of desperation, I decided to make my own Python node. And let me remind you, I didn't know Python back then. I didn't know Revit API back then. I barely knew Dynamo, and I had no ChatGPT back then. Nowadays, you're really lucky because you can start with ChatGPT, and it's gonna save you so much time. But back then, I just didn't know anything. I just decided, why not? Maybe I can make it. I don't know how, but somehow I did it, right? I looked at a lot of examples, forums, I just copied, pasted a lot of things together, and somehow it did what I needed. I don't remember exactly what was the issue, but there was something about filtering and manipulating data, and that was it. And then I clicked and waited for results for 40 seconds, right? I thought something is broken. I tried it like again and again and again, and it always took around 40 seconds. Now, let me remind you, it was 40 minutes at first, and then we moved to 40 seconds. So it was completely overwhelming that I managed to create one node without knowing Revit API in Python properly, and I managed to get this kind of return. I was just sitting there and thinking, whoa, I just discovered something incredible. Revit API in Python, it just saved me so much time, and this has allowed us to iterate through the design more and more. And this was just an amazing thing to discover. And this one experience has changed my career and life. Because I got to see the potential of Revit API firsthand. Because many people think about how great is Dynamo, pyRevit, Revit API, but until you actually experience it, you will not really understand how much value it can bring to you. And I didn't know basics yet, which also kind of enforced my belief, all right, I just broke the false belief, I can actually do this. And since then, I tried to do everything with Revit API. I just always looked like whenever I had any task, how do I do this with Revit API, Dynamo, or something like this? And that's how I learned the most. And in my case, I learned the best by doing it. And in programming, this is very common. This is how most of you will also learn the most. Whenever I was giving any task, I would always sit there and think, how can I do it with Revit API and Dynamo? And also many of my colleagues, whenever they came to me and said like, hey, Eric, can you do these tasks? They would also often say, please don't open Dynamo because we know you're going to open it, but we need the task right now. This is at the point where I was just learning everything. I had to spend countless evenings learning Revit API and sometimes spending days on a very simple things because I didn't know what steps I needed to follow. I just was somewhere in between and trying to grasp everything. What the hell is Revit API, where I start and everything. But it was still all worth it because in the end, I got really important skill that leveraged my career really forward. But something was still off with Dynamo. And I had to use this classic response, it works on my machine. And I wonder, how many of you have already used this classic response when I use Dynamo? Do you often say oh, it works on my machine, but I don't know if it works at yours? And then I was introduced to pyRevit, and it was just amazing. It's free, it's open source, it has plenty of code examples, it has great community, beginner-friendly documentation, easy to share with your colleagues. It has many extensions for non-coders, easy to set up, provides a lot of reusable code. And just in general, when I heard all of this, I was like, nah, this is too good to be true, there has to be something off. But pyRevit is really that amazing. And probably many of you already start using pyRevit, or at least you used it. And I wonder, what do you love the most about pyRevit? Is there anything that you love the most about this? Yeah, so some of you already experienced the pyRevit. Probably majority of you use already pre-made tools, right? Because creating tools, your own tools, you will learn a lot during this presentation, but in the beginning, it's scary. I know this. And I want to say a huge shout out to the development team, especially to the Eshan Ira Nejad, who is pyRevit dad and who made pyRevit more than 10 years ago. And to Jean-Marc Coffin, who I call pyRevit uncle because he now supports the development of pyRevit. He's also very active in the forum and he keeps kind of organizing different events, including the Python hackathon that's happening right now. You can learn more about on the pyRevit site. In general, pyRevit is awesome, but you still need to learn Revit API and Python. And in my case, I learned Revit API the hard way, but you don't have to. And I want to help you learn it the right way. I helped thousands of others get started. For example, Charlie says here that he was just getting started with Revit API and he have learned a lot in really short time. He was very exciting for the potential. Anthony said that he'd been using pyRevit for about 2 years and it took him 2 months to create his first plugin. But his colleague discovered my free videos and he created his first in a week. So he managed already to save so much time by just watching my free videos on how to get started. And there are 3 secrets that I want to share during this presentation. Firstly, we're going to talk about pyRevit, how to create your own Revit toolbar in just a few minutes and get access to the best resources. Then we're going to talk about Python. How much Python do you actually need to learn and where to get the skills? And obviously, we will talk about Revit API because you need to learn Revit API basics and I'm going to provide a roadmap so you can save months learning Revit API on your own. And let's begin with the first one, how to get started with pyRevit in just a few minutes. Firstly, why pyRevit? Because pyRevit is simply the best. I already mentioned a lot of good things about pyRevit, but one of the greatest things why you should start with pyRevit is you just have to create a folder structure and it will do the rest. This is the image of what kind of folder structure you need to create. You need to create first folder, that extension, that tab, that panel, and that push button. And that's it. That's going to be enough to create your first button, just these 4 folders. There are also additional folders, library for reusing your code, then hooks for creating event triggers. This is more advanced. Then these red folders are just for organization. The pull down is so you can create a pull down menus and organize your buttons, and stacks is just so you can place 3 buttons instead of 1 in your toolbar. And you see, pyRevit is super simple, but I wanted to make it even simpler. And let me introduce you to EF pyRevit StarterKit. It will help you create your own pyRevit extension in less than 2 minutes. And you can get it absolutely for free on my website on learnrevitapi.com/pyRevit-starter-kit. And if you don't believe me, this is actually going to be your extension when you're going to use the StarterKit. And also, we're going to make it happen right now, right? You can go to this website, leave your email, and you will receive all the instructions. But I'm going to show you on the screen actually how it looks and what you're going to get. Just let me pull up on the screen the website. So here is the website. Normally, you put here an email, get download link, and you will also see here additional videos which are gonna help you really a lot. But once you're gonna download it, this is how it's gonna look. This is gonna be the email that you're gonna receive. And inside you will see there's the download link, but then there is also instruction. Again, you will see the video guide, and then it's gonna be written out step by step. And it's not complicated. First, you need to install pyRevit, obviously. Then you will find this folder structure inside my StarterKit, and you will need to rename blue folders. So you will need to rename the first and the second this folder, extension and that tab. Then we will point pyRevit to this folder, we reload it, and then you have your own extension, which is 100% customizable. You can change anything. And this is what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna pull up the folder structure. This is the downloaded kit, and there is the zip file. I actually need to extract it quickly, just a second. And inside you're gonna see this folder. There's gonna be this EF pyRevit StarterKit extension, and this is the first folder that we need to rename. So I'm just gonna go here and I'm gonna name it something like AU24. Then we're gonna go inside, and then there's a second folder, again, EF pyRevit StarterKit. We again wanna rename it AU24. When you're gonna rename it, just make sure that that tab, that extension, they stay exactly the same, because this is important for pyRevit, so it knows what each folder represents, so it can show it correctly inside the Revit. All right, we are done with what we need to do with the StarterKit. Now, we need to copy the path where it's located. And when you copy this, make sure you're not copying the path where that extension, but one folder outside. And after that, we will need to go to Revit. Let me make it full screen. All right, now we're gonna go to pyRevit tab, which we installed earlier. And then in pyRevit in here, we're gonna go to settings. Inside of settings, you just need to provide the path where you locate it in this kind of custom extension directories. Click here on add folder, and we're gonna provide the path where it's located. And when you're gonna do this, just make sure you cannot see that extension here. If you can see this here, you made it wrong. You need to remove it, and you need to go one folder outside. Just a second. You can meet Ricky. Main Coon. Cat, yeah. Main Coon. All right, so we're gonna save this path right here, and you can see this time it's correct. We're just gonna click on Save Settings and reload. It's gonna take just a little bit to load, and then you will see your extension with whatever name you named it. In my case, I named it AU24, and this is what you're gonna get. This is the template that includes everything that you need to get started. In here, you'll see the placeholder panels, and you can reuse any of this. Dev panel is also like placeholders. You can click on any of the buttons, and just gonna be a simple print message. But then in here, you'll see you can hold Alt and click on any of these tools to open the source code where it's located. You can duplicate, use this placeholder for your script. And let's do that. I'm gonna go in here and with Alt, click on button 2. It usually opens the folder in the background. Here it is. And now I can see here the Python code and the icon for this button. I can open the Python code and I can start kind of creating my own tool. I just need to find my code editor. Here it is. Inside, it's very simple. Here is the name of the button, and I'm just gonna call it EF button 2, then description, which you can see when you hover, and just a few imports. This is just the basic kind of template that you can begin with. Normally, you would write your code here, and this one you would delete because this is just making the print statement from the StarterKit. Also, what you will notice that in here, let me first put it back. Now I need the folder. In here, what you notice, you can explore this folder structure. I'm gonna go out and you'll notice that I have here dev panel, and inside there are dev panel dev button 1, 2, and 3. And they all relate to one of these buttons right here. So it's very easy to understand what relates to what. Let's say that I'm going to go outside to that tab, and the tab represents this AU24 tab right here. Inside, let's go to placeholder panel, for example. And now you will notice that I have here pull down example, which is going to be this one. Then I have here push button example, which is going to be this one. And you can relate all these things to what you see inside of Revit. And it's very easy to modify anything. Let's say I don't like to have this Learn Revit API panel right here. Sorry, Ricky, not now. Let's say that I don't want to see this panel right here. So I'm going to hold Alt and click on it and open it. You can go outside and you can just delete this whole panel because you decide, you know what, I don't want to see this. And instead, you want to create your dev panel 2. I'm going to call it dev 2, and it's going to be panel. One thing also in here, you'll notice bundle.yaml file. This is used to control the order of your buttons, but also it's going to be used to kind of hide different panels. So since I added here dev, I also needed to add here dev 2. Once you make any changes to your pyRevit, you would normally go to pyRevit tab, click on reload, click here. Again, you just need to wait a few seconds. All right, I can see that somebody is already excited. Definitely gonna need the video. Yeah, the video is definitely gonna be uploaded somewhere. I just don't know where yet, probably YouTube. Autodesk is fine with this, but we will figure it out. And now have a look. We removed the panel that we didn't want, even though it contained actually many resources I forgot to show, but never mind. And here's the new panel. And this is how easy it is to create new buttons. And again, if I'm gonna click on it, it's supposed to work. It's gonna make me a print statement, and I'm just gonna create more and more buttons and write the code there. But that's not all. The best part about the StarterKit is resources. You'll get links to all the documentations that you need to be aware of. You will get links to my ebooks, and I'm gonna talk about them later. Here you're gonna find different templates, template for pyRevit. This is kind of educational full version, but normally I would use this minimum version. You can also find the most important tutorials that you might need. For example, a tutorial about this pyRevit StarterKit, the roadmap, where to start, Python basics, and so on. You're also going to get resources. In here, you have a link to Autodesk University, where you're going to find a lot of presentation about Revit API, forums, where to get icons. This is where you're going to get a lot of free lessons on my website, which the first module is free. So you'll get here a lot of tutorials on how to set it up, how to set up your development environment, and just in general, how to begin. But most importantly, you're going to get a lot of code samples. And this is what is really important for also beginners and intermediate, because you can start right away. Let's say that you don't know anything about parameters. You're going to click here, and we're going to open. Inside, you're going to find a lot of help. You will see here examples, how to pick an object to start working with parameters, how to get your instance or type parameters, how to read parameters, how to get built-in parameters, how to get project or shared parameters. And this is where really a lot of value of the StarterKit is. Let's have a look at the selection. By the way, I'm clicking left click, and then I'm opening the right file, because I added the code so it opens correctly. In selection, you will see how to get selected elements, how to pick an object, how to pick multiple objects, and you can see it's not that complicated. It's just a few lines of code. In this case, you would also need selection, which is right here, but it's just a few lines of code that you can copy, paste in your own scripts and keep building, right? And you will learn a lot from these code samples. For more intermediate users, I also added here VPF form sample. And VPF is a very popular, very requested topic. It's how to create custom UI forms for pyRevit. Here I can write some text, I can select some options, and in here you also will see the filtering of this list box. And again, inside you will be able to find all the source code. Every single line of code of the StarterKit and my EFTools extension and pyRevit is open source. And you can go inside, have a look, and find all examples that you might need. This is what's so great about pyRevit and how easy it is to get started. Now, we're gonna go back to the presentation. It was the EF demo time. And also, I want to show you what do other people say about the StarterKit. Because you can see me doing it, and oftentimes when you see others do, it might look easy, but then you start yourself and you find it really hard. But in this case, you'll see that this is the best learning and develop material on the internet, that says Carlos. Abdallah says he absolutely loved the StarterKit. Benjamin says it's phenomenal resource, by far the best resource available for beginners and intermediate level learning to automate and program for pyRevit. Karen says that he was really impressed by the number of resources and documentation available. And now, does it sound like something that can help you as well? Just let me know in the chat. Do you believe that you can take the StarterKit and actually begin? With all these resources, with all the placeholders, and just like, is it a good starting point for you? Just let me know in the chat. Yeah. All right. A lot of people say, yeah, for sure, looks promising. Of course, great. All right. Because first of all, you see, with this presentation, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to break your false beliefs. Because many of you came to this presentation thinking, all right, this is not for me, but I'm going to watch it anyway, right? Many of you think like, all right, I'm going to go through this presentation, but I don't think it's going to really apply to me. But I just really want to point you that, look, this is the first step how you begin. You create your extension. And you can also let me know in the chat. Also, you can get it for free. Here's the website. I think you already seen it. But also, I wonder, what will you name your Revit extension? Just write the name in the chat. What will you name your pyRevit extension? Because it will also motivate you to actually make it happen. Just let me know the names. MG Tools. Can't forget ChatGPT. Yeah, ChatGPT can help you a lot. MCI Tools. Test One Final. Great name. Cat. The Wizard. OV Custom Tools. All right. And this was the part about pyRevit. Now we're going to move to Python. I think I'm a little bit behind the schedule, but I will try to catch up. So how many of you are completely new to Python, right? Just let me know your skills rated from 1 to 5. Are you like absolute beginner at 1? Do you know it really well at 5 or somewhere in between? All right, 1, 1, 1, 1, a few freeze, 5, 2, 1. Okay, there's like 90% probably at 1. A few people even write 0. That's okay. And listen, but do you believe that you can actually learn it? Just like when you think about, can you learn Python? What would you say? Yes, no? All right, that's great. Not a single no. This is insane. I didn't expect that, so you're really, really motivated. That's good. And you see, many people start with no Python skills. As I shared in my kind of origin story, I had no Python skill, and yet I created my first node. It was horrible, but it worked. And again, I made my first Python code for Revit API before I took any Python courses. I knew nothing, and yet I made it work somehow. I still don't know how, but I made it work. And I know of many others who started that way as well, and so can you. And as I can see in the chat, you're pretty much already on the same page. I haven't seen a single no in the chat when I asked this question. This is crazy. But now let's talk. Do you need to be a Python expert? And shortly, no. But you should be comfortable with basics like variables, data types, logical operators, if statements, loops, functions, try except, and a little bit of object-oriented programming to work with classes. And listen, it might sound like a lot, but majority of it, it's not complicated. Variable is just kind of what stores the data. Actually, I'm not going to go into that, but it's not that complicated to learn these basics. And this will be enough to get you started. And keep in mind that AI assistants make programming so much simpler. You should definitely leverage AI assistants with programming. First of all, there are chatbots. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, all of these chatbots. Personally, ChatGPT is by far my favorite one. I tried to use Claude, but that's just not my cup of tea. Secondly, there are code integration. There are integration with your code editors like PyCharm and Visual Studio Code. The most popular one is GitHub Copilot, but many people also dislike it. There are also different like Tab9, Continue AI, Codium, Cody. There are like so many of them and they keep appearing every kind of week. Personally, I would recommend you to begin with the Tab9 or GitHub Copilot. Majority of them are going to be paid if you want to use the latest LLMs, but I think all of them offer you free version if you want to use kind of weaker, slower, and smaller models. But what's great about Tab9, it's going to give you 3 months for free to use all the latest LLM models, like the latest model of ChatGPT, the latest model of Anthropic, Claude. And listen, I'm not affiliated with them. I just found it really amazing that they're so confident that they give you just 3 months for free. The least you can do, just start using them for 3 months, and when it's about to expire, just cancel. Just move to the next one, I'm still experimenting, so I cannot really give you my final answer, but right now I'm experimenting with Tab9 and it works great. And listen, I would pay hundreds for any of these options and you can get it absolutely for free, which is really amazing. And I still cannot believe that something like ChatGPT can be free. It's literally gonna save you hundreds of hours just learning the Python. But also probably you wonder, where can you learn Python? Firstly, I recommend everyone edX.org platform. It's a free platform where you can get courses from institutions like Harvard, and this is one of the most popular courses, Introduction to Programming with Python. The second course I recommend to everyone is MIT Introduction to Computer Science and Programming using Python. These are really good courses, but you can also find courses from Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, all top institutions in the world have some courses there. And it's made in a way that it's free, but I think you only pay when you want to get certificate. And I don't really think you need it, but if you know the skill of programming, you don't need certificate. You also will notice that this one takes around 10 weeks, this one 9 weeks, but this one requires more work for you. This one is also self-paced, this one instructor-based. So there are also many courses on YouTube, and I want to recommend you a few channels that personally I really enjoy. Firstly, there is Network Chuck. He's more in IT side of on his channel, but he has a really good introduction to Python because it's quite entertaining. He's really good in making videos. Second one is Socratica. He makes amazing short bite videos. You can see there's a few videos in playlist, 1 minute, 3 minutes. It's really short and it just goes straight to the point. They're, I think, 10 years old, but nothing really changed that much in Python. You will learn a lot. Then there's Programming with Mosh. He makes more courses. He has 6-hour course, 1-hour course, half an hour course, and you can see he has 40 millions. So probably it's a really good course. And lastly, I also have a short video, Python Basics for Revit users, where I quite quickly go through all the basics and just show you here's the variables, here's what data types, here how the for loops work. This is not going to be a comprehensive course, but it's going to be enough to at least get you an idea of what you need to learn. In general, just find a course that you personally love. There are thousands of courses on Python for free. There are hundreds of them paid ones. Just find something that you love, maybe in your native language, maybe find something like Harvard, MIT, maybe YouTube. And in general, just look everywhere. It's very recommended that you watch the same course from many different places. And spoiler alert, I'm also planning to release Python course for Revit users, and the first module is going to be released somewhere in the end of 2024, maybe beginning 2025, but more on that later. You'll be able to check on learnrevitapi.com/Python if you're watching the recording. If you're watching it live, you don't have to go there. I think I haven't published this page yet, so I'm going to fix it later. Now we're moving to the third part of the presentation, how to get started with Revit API as a beginner. And before we're going to start, do you actually learn a lot from this presentation? Generally, I wonder, do you find a lot of value what I speak about? So far, we spoke about pyRevit and Python, and I just wonder if you actually feel like I'm giving a lot of value here. All right, this is great. Now, since you're getting so much value, let's begin with Revit API. And Revit API can feel impossible to learn. This is definitely what many of you have already felt or will feel, if you don't have the right plan. And this is the thing. Revit API can be really overwhelming. There are thousands of classes, methods, and properties. There is no way anyone can remember all of that. But you don't have to. You just need to learn the core classes like selection, parameter, transactions, filtered element collector, and a few others. And then the rest you will learn whenever you need it. You all will start pretty much with the same basics, so you can learn how to modify parameters, how to get different elements. And then some of you who work in architectural field gonna go in that way. Some structural engineers gonna focus on this thing. It all depends on what kind of things you're trying to automate. And I wanna help you with this Revit API basics so you can actually get started. Here are the steps to learn Revit API, and I'm gonna go a little bit quick because I'm gonna cover it in a second as well. Firstly, you need to set up your development environment. This is something that I neglected for long. You need plugins like Revit Lookup, pyRevit, you need to create your extension, you need your code editor, you need to set up Revit API autocomplete and AI assistance. I have videos on my YouTube channel and also free lessons on Learn Revit API, so you will get a lot of help here. You need to understand how to work with documentation, how to navigate it, what's important, how to use new classes, and how to translate it to Python. How to work with selection so you can actually get selected elements, pick objects, set new selection. Then you will start looking into elements. You will start using Revit Lookup a lot, and it will allow you to look inside elements and find all Revit API properties, methods, what kind of values you get, explore nested classes, and how to apply all of this to Python. You'll also learn how to work with parameters next, because Revit is all about parameters. You need to learn how to get, read, and set values with your parameters. You'll also need to learn how to make changes with Revit API, because luckily for beginners, you cannot make any changes unless you use transaction class. Just a second. Transaction protect your model from unwanted changes and makes it easy to explore for beginners. So this is really great news. When you're going to be exploring Revit API, you cannot break anything unless you use transaction. Because even if you try to delete, let's say, all your columns, you will not be able to do until you use transaction. This is why it's there and it's great. Then you'll master getting elements, because getting the right elements is often half the solution. So you'll learn how to use filtered element collector. And lastly, you'll learn the rest whenever you need it. Slowly, one step at a time, without feeling overwhelmed. And don't try to create like this Revit killer with your add-ins. Just start small and improve one step at a time. But it still might be confusing. I just went really quick for all the steps, and now many of you are really confusing. So I got something better for you. And I want to provide you a free ebook beginner's guide to Revit API. And this is not just a kind of 2 pages ebook, it has around 50 pages, and it goes through all the kind of steps that I mentioned, and even more. You'll learn what is Revit API, how to start with programming, your environment, how to read documentation, and even more advanced topics like C# versus Python, how to make transactions. You're gonna learn a lot from this ebook, that's for sure. And I just wanna show you a few pages. You can get this ebook for free on learnrevitapi.com/ebook. Again, you'll have to provide me email and I will send you instructions and I think something else. It's been a while since I downloaded it myself. Inside, you'll find pages like this. This is your selection examples. There's a little bit kind of a theory of how it works. Here is how to get the selection itself. And here is how to get selected, how to get current selection, how to pick your objects, how to pick elements by rectangle, and how to change selection. This is the guide that you can reference anytime you work with Revit API. Just find the right page and have a look at the code snippets that I provide and short examples. iSelection filter is a little bit more advanced for selection. Here's how to get parameters, how to read parameters, set parameters, and you can see I put really a lot of effort in this resource as well. I think in pyRevit StarterKit I spent like 3 weeks writing it. This one I spent way more time writing than StarterKit. Here's how transaction works. You have to start, commit, changes in between, and just a few different points you should be aware of. Filtered element collector. Actually, let me explain it. Oftentimes during this guide, you'll notice that you have this large code and you find it really overwhelming, right? There are 4 steps to use filtered element collector, for example. You need to create the collector itself. You need to decide, do you filter with class or category? And then if category, you provide the category. With class, you provide class. Then you can filter where element is type or where element is not type. And lastly, you convert it to elements. That sounds like a lot, right? Many of you are overwhelmed, probably don't even understand what I speak. But let me show you something. In Revit API, it's very, very repetitive. If you want to get all wall types, you just have to change right here. You change this to OST walls. You want to get all roofs? No problem. Just change the category to roofs. And in this case, you also add here not because you want to get instances. You want to get rooms? No problem, right here. You want to get doors in a specific view? That's okay. You say, I want doors, and I want to get it from this view. You can also use of class, right? And here you're going to write filtered element collector of class, floor, and floor type. You don't even need to kind of filter with element types. This is already done here. And this is the thing about Revit API. The first time you see many code snippets, it's going to be so overwhelming, you will think like, okay, this is not for me, I'm not even going to try coding. But when you look at this, you can see that I literally changed one word to get new results. And that's going to be very often about Revit API. And this is what this ebook will hopefully demonstrate really well. Do you think that this is going to really help you learn Revit API? Is it going to really help you? What kind of you think about this ebook in general, so far from what you've seen? Yes. All right. So I hope that it sounds really helpful. Also, I'm going to mention what other people say. For example, Ryan managed to go from brand new Python coder to being able to write full code scripts and understand how to navigate around Revit API just with this ebook and my YouTube training videos. He was able to, he says that I'm able to take something that isn't very intuitive and break it down in many digestible bytes. And even beginner can understand it. Probably he would give up without it. Then Oliver says, great ebook, takes you through all the necessary steps and serves as a reference when you're scripting. And this was the goal with this ebook. I wish I had this ebook when I started, and this is why I made it. You can download it for free on learnrevitapi.com/ebook. It's right there, it's free, just kind of put your email, you're going to get it in your email. Now, just let me see the time, if I'm doing, okay, I'm 2 minutes behind, but that's okay. Now I want to talk about common objections, because probably you have some objections right now. You watch me talk about pyRevit, Python, Revit API, but there are definitely various objections in your mind right now. The first, most popular, is I don't have time. Who is here thinks that you don't have time to do any of that? And for this one, while you answer me in the chat, I want to also ask you, make a little experiment. How would you do a boring task? Let's say that somebody comes to you and they say all right, Eric, here's the task you have to do in Revit. And I think about, okay, it's going to take around 5-8 hours of manual work. But then I sit there, okay, how much time would it take me with pyRevit? Even though I'm a beginner, I'm going to learn a lot. And I think, okay, maybe in 8-12 hours, I can make it. Which of these tasks would you do? Would you kind of go and do manually with Revit, or would you actually spend more time and do it with pyRevit? Just write A or B, or Revit or pyRevit. B. Okay, a few people A, C. Okay, majority is already seeing probably the value of pyRevit. This is great. But now I just want to explain it still. Whenever you're going to use pyRevit, first of all, you're going to improve your Python skill, you're going to improve your Revit API skill, and next time the task will take you minutes instead of hours. And this is the whole thing about pyRevit, right? Whenever you have this task, you have to sit there and think a little bit long term, because many of us like to live in like today's day, but think long term. Manually, you can think, all right, the best I can do is 5 hours on like this specific task. It's gonna take me 5 hours first time, second time, third time, fourth time. And in total, you're gonna spend like 20 hours to make it 4 times, right? This is the best you can do, right? This is like, you already became super efficient. But then let's look at the pyRevit. And let's say that, all right, maybe you're gonna spend 10 hours to write your first code. But the next time you're gonna spend 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And it's not just you, but all your colleagues as well. Obviously, it depends on the task, but I just want to like drive this point home. To do a task 4 times manually, it already takes you 20 hours, but with pyRevit, it takes 10 hours. And listen, sometimes it's going to be different numbers, right? Sometimes pyRevit is even going to be faster on the first try. Sometimes pyRevit, you're going to see return maybe on the 5th, on the 6th time. It depends on the task, obviously, and on your skill and how much you learned. But in general, I just want you to know and start thinking long term. Because this is where you're going to get the best return on your time, when you start thinking long term. Do you agree with what I'm saying here? Do you understand the value of thinking like long term when it comes to Dynamo and pyRevit? Because I think many offices still don't realize it, or at least they don't want to invest time in this. They're still kind of not ready. Absolutely, that's great. Now, let's go to the second objection after that. There is not enough examples. And I still somehow hear this even after I explain all of this. And I want to show you where you can get even more examples, because pyRevit is open source. So I already explained that everything is just this kind of folder structure, and inside you have your Python file, icons, and a few other things. You can hold Alt and click on any button inside your own pyRevit extension, inside pyRevit extension itself, and other extensions like EF-Tools, for example. And this will open the folder, and you can have a look inside the Python file, you can have a look at the whole kind of toolbar, and just learn from others and copy and paste in your own scripts. This is what's so great about pyRevit. Many people also they just go through all available extensions and they just copy the tools that they need. They want like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and they make like extension with like 50 or 100 tools, and they haven't even opened a code editor. They just were copying the tools from everywhere just to kind of make a proof of concept, and later they start improving it. You can get a lot more examples by going in pyRevit to this extensions tab, and you'll find a lot of extensions, including my own EF-Tools. There are also, you will notice, extensions like pyRevit MEP. Here is for the structure, Revit Ron. There are a lot of different examples, and it's really kind of beneficial for you to go through and see what's available out there. But that's not all. These are really great extensions that included officially with pyRevit. But if you're going to go on GitHub, you can literally go to github.com/search, and you just type pyRevit. You're going to find 250 results, right? These are 250 different repositories, and inside of them, there are 12,000 different code snippets. Let's just say that, all right, there is not going to be all of them so great. Let's say that 20% of them are great. So we're going to say that 50 of them are going to be like really great. This is the 20% from 250. Now, let's say that they also don't have all the great tools. Maybe all of them have like 20, let's say like 10 tools, right? These are 10 really good tools that you're going to enjoy, and you will want to look at the code. This is already 500 code samples you can look at. And I'm being here very, very like minimalistic. Probably going to find a lot more, but it just takes a lot of time to go through all of it. There are really a lot of examples that you can start using in your own pyRevit script. And what I'm trying to say here is like, you should steal like an artist. This is very common in artistic world, where they say like, there's nothing unique in this world. Everything was already said. Everything was already done. You should just go there and kind of reuse what people did. Just take the code, learn from it, reuse in your own scripts, and just try to learn by just mimicking others, and then try to iterate and kind of improvise to adjust your own needs. Still like an artist. Now, the third one is also what I hear is my company won't allow me to use pyRevit. And I think I saw someone in the chat already mention that they do everything manually. Nobody gonna allow you to do anything like pyRevit. Here's the thing. Can you imagine this conversation? You come to your boss and say, listen, I can save us a lot of time, and they say, no, thank you, right? This just sounds absurd. Because you see, if you're going to communicate the value right, you're going to say, listen, I found pyRevit and Revit API and Python, and all of that can help us. We can create custom tools, automate repetitive tasks, and ultimately save a lot of time. If you save 5 minutes a day, it can accumulate to 20 hours a year. Just let that sink for a minute. Because I think you can all agree that you can save 5 minutes a day with these tools over time. Not on day one, but over time, you're going to save much more time than this. And now imagine if everyone in the office will use your custom tools, which I made specifically for your office. So it's not like where you download it plugin and you say, all right, we use this plugin to make half of the work and then half of it we do manually. No, in here you have the full control of what's happening. How much time and money will it save to this company, right? And this might help business owners to understand the value of pyRevit. It's free, it's open source, it's great community, but this is what this will bring to their company. You can save a lot of time and money and just in general make your office more efficient. And also, if you will be having this discussion, this is also a great moment to actually ask them if they mind supporting your learning journey. Maybe they're gonna order some Python books, Python courses, pyRevit books, Dynamo books, anything. Just this is a great point to ask them. Because let's say that if 5 minutes a day is gonna be like 20 hours, 1 minute a day is gonna be like 4 hours a year, you're gonna save. If you just save 1 minute a day. And now, if you have like 50 different employees and you're gonna save like 4 hours each a year, it's gonna be already 200 hours. And in many countries like America, Europe, the salaries for BIM specialists are close to like 100. Just imagine how much value you can bring to the company if you're gonna explain this. Look, if you're gonna save this much hours a year, this is how much more value we're gonna bring to the company. And obviously it depends on the company, how many employees you have. Also, you're gonna start slowly and start building, but this is the goal, right? If you can paint this picture to them, they will support you. And you probably have other objections as well. And I'm really curious what you have in mind. You can share it in the chat because I really wonder what other objections you have. Why don't you think that pyRevit is for you? Why you think that you cannot learn Python? Or why do you think that Revit API is impossible, even with all these resources that I mentioned during this presentation? I think I'm running a little bit late, so I think I need to kind of keep going, but you can keep objections coming. I will go through them later because I really want to know what stops you. And so far, we went through how to get started with pyRevit in just a few minutes. Where and how much Python do you need to learn? You got your beginner's guide to Revit API, which is like step-by-step roadmap. And how many of you already excited what we talked here? We talked through a lot. I think I crammed really a lot of information in like 50 minutes. And you can let me know in the chat if you are like, what's the favorite part of this presentation? Is it the pyRevit, is it the Python, or is it the Revit API? This is really important for me because I want to know. Somebody says he's been searching for this whole his life. All of them. Yeah, all of them are good, but I need like what's better. Okay, Revit API. Revit API. Okay, so probably Revit API based on the first answers. pyRevit. Yeah, Revit API. Now I know it. Thank you. Now, do you feel a little overwhelmed? Many of you came to this presentation just with a cup of tea, like relaxed. Okay, I'm just gonna have a look what this guy has to say. And now you feel like this. You hold this like stack of books. You have your resources, Python, pyRevit StarterKit, code samples, ebooks. You're just like holding and like, okay, I cannot hold anymore. Please don't give me anything else. Yeah, overwhelmed but inspired. Right, and you see, for the rest of this presentation, we have like around 8 minutes. I wanna ask you something. Do you mind if I'm gonna make you a special offer? Because what I'm going to offer you is like my paid product, and I just want to make sure that you are okay with that and you are aware that I'm just going to kind of introduce you to my product. Because this is what you feel right now, and I gave you so much. I cannot give you any more in like 1 hour. This is already more than probably offer away. Okay, I got your permission. That's great. This makes me feel better. I hate sales. But now, do you want to have a shortcut to learn Revit API, right? Instead of holding this stack of books, you can just like have everything in one place, everything you need to become the next Revit hero with pyRevit. And I want to introduce you to my learnrevitapi.com course. This is the platform that you're going to see. Let me just a second. This is the roadmap that I'm going to take you through the course. It's going to start with the basic, like I mentioned already in the ebook and a lot of different things, but also we're going to go to more advanced things. I'm going to introduce you to user inputs and outputs, how to automate views, how to create elements, how to work with Excel. And big note also, this one is still work in progress. I need to record it and publish it, but it's coming, right? You're going to get it if you decide to join. Now, this is how it looks inside. This is the course platform. You're going to find all the lessons. And you will get in-depth video lessons, written out summaries with code, reusable code snippets, hands-on practice lessons, homework to practice, and community chats. This is how it looks. I think I just need to turn off the sound. And this is one of the lessons. There's like 19-minute lesson on filtered element collector, and then everything is going to be written out. What I heard from many people, they really appreciated these written summaries because they could translate it to their native language. And they would first watch the video in English, and then they would translate it and kind of follow along this lesson. I'm sorry. You see, when I was learning on my own, I didn't know Revit API basics I needed to learn first. I would struggle a lot on simple Revit API concepts, and I would spend countless hours on forums, blogs, YouTube, and presentations. Also, I did not have ChatGPT, so I'm really jealous of what kind of things you can access today for free. But my biggest frustration was I spent days on problems that could be solved in less than an hour with the right training and materials. And I want to provide that training and materials to you so you don't waste like hundreds of hours on like stupid tasks. So I've made this learnRevitAPI.com platform. This course is made for all Revit users who want to learn Revit API. For architects, engineers, MEP, structural, BIM coordinators, managers, modelers, specialists, beginner coders, intermediate coders, and pretty much any Revit user not afraid of programming. Learn Revit API is a valuable resource for anyone looking to master Revit API and develop plugin with confidence. This is a testimonial from Jean-Marc Coffin, who is part of the development team, and he highly recommends this course for Revit experts, BIM specialists, beginners, and experienced Python coders. This course is what I dreamed of when I started, and it would save me many months, right? I'm gonna skip a few of these testimonials because I don't really have a lot of time here. But you can see people say that it was a turning point in professional journey. Thanks to the course, they enhanced their technical skills with new levels and so on. There's really a lot of positive things people say about this, but are you excited about this? So far what you heard, are you excited about this Learn Revit API course? And meanwhile, while you're answering, here's what you get. You're gonna get access to Learn Revit API course, and it's gonna bring you so much value, but I set the value like, all right, probably it's gonna give you around €997 of value. But listen, that's not all. Revit API can feel really lonely. Nobody understands you at the dinner table. And when you learn something new like Revit API, you really want to talk about this or at least discuss it. And you will be also a part of Revit API community. This is a place where you will be able to talk to other people learning. Also, you will have access to me and we'll just can chat about Revit API, pyRevit, share our code. And when you get stuck, you have a place to ask. And people love this. This is one of the things. I've noticed that majority of testimonials, they always include something about Discord. Thomas says, Discord group is very helpful. He thinks this is the main value of this course. Miguel says this course exceeded all his expectations. He can't imagine better or faster way to learn pyRevit. And he also mentions that Discord community was a brilliant idea. And again, I need to skip some of them, but you'll notice that Johan was the beginner. He also says that Discord is amazing, and so on. So you will also get access to Learn Revit API community, which can already contain value of €447. And total, it's close to 1,500. There is more. You see, there is more things that people ask me, and VPF is one of the most requested topics from pyRevit users on my channel. Because when you're gonna start making new tools, you will also want to create your own custom UI forms. Therefore, you will also get access to VPF course for pyRevit. But keep in mind, it's still upcoming. I haven't finished it. It's gonna look, this is the landing page, and you will learn how to create VPF forms for pyRevit. You will get access to 5 modules. You're gonna get introduction, how to create forms, how to create reusable forms, styling, and how to use AI for VPF. The course is already 40% finished and it includes 3 hours of content. I'm just trying to say that this is not going to be like mini courses, like half an hour I show you, hey, look, click here and that's it. No, this is going to be in-depth course about VPF as well. And release is expected in November 2024, so like in the next month, I hope to release everything, but it will depend on how many modules I finish. But the release is definitely in November. So you will also get free access to this VPF course for pyRevit user, which alone would be like at €447. But guess what? That's also not all, because many of you also probably struggle with Python. And this is the next course that I'm starting to work on. This is the Python course for Revit users. In there, I want to explain how to get started with Python inside of Revit. This is going to be a step-by-step course for absolute beginners. Python concept will be related to Revit. And this is the thing, when you hear the new concepts, you need to relate them back to Revit so you kind of can understand them simpler. The release is going to be starting in the end of 2024 and beginning 2025, depending on kind of how I'm going to release it. So you will also get access to this free Python course for Revit users, which is also upcoming. Keep this in mind, right? I just want to make sure that you understand this. Lastly, I'm still not done. I keep updating the main course over and over. As you heard, I'm adding new modules. I'm also re-recording many modules because I started this course more than a year ago, and I'm still updating the previous lessons because I think I can make them much better. So you will also get all course updates to this course. And in total, I think this brings it up to the value of €2,535. But listen, I'm not going to charge you that, right? That's really a lot of money, and no, I don't have confidence to charge that much. But I just want to ask you something. If you knew Revit API today with pyRevit and all these resources that I mentioned, what would it be worth to you? What kind of price tag would you set to this kind of goal? If you could get like this result, how much would you be willing to like pay? Especially considering how much more value it's going to provide in your work, in your career. More than 1,000, 1 million, well, I think I needed to ask the currency, 1 million of what? All right, let's see. I'm not going to charge you 2,500 for all of that, but I will charge you €447 for the annual subscription to this course platform. But also, if you're still watching, you deserve something. We just spent like 60 minutes going through all of this, and I want to offer you something, right? I want to offer you a coupon code for just watching this far, because you really deserve it. The coupon code is AU24, and you're going to get another 10% off. And this is going to be valid until the end of October 2024. So with this discount applied, it's going to be close to €400 a year. But listen, you've got two choices right now. You can just do nothing. You can ignore all the code samples I provided, all the ebooks, all pyRevit, starter kits, and this course as well. Or you can act on this new information. Just download my ebook, download my starter kit, just try implementing, and just, if you're also very serious, also consider joining inside the course. And right away, I know that it's scary to join any course and then get disappointed. I recently joined a really expensive course and I got really disappointed. But I don't want you to feel that way. So there is 30 days money back guarantee. And there is no hidden rules. You can literally watch everything in 29 days. You can ask me on the last day for the money back, and then you can get all your money back. There are 30 days money back guarantee without any hidden rules. And just one more thing. It's also the last chance to get the lifetime access. I decided to set it for 400 users, and we already 360 members inside approximately. So there are 40 seats left to join Learn Revit API course and get lifetime access for the same price. So you will get all of that just for €400 and lifetime access. And you will get all these upcoming courses as I release them. Right now, it's your chance to become Revit hero your office needs. Join at learnrevitapi.com website. You can join my paid course. You can start with my free lessons. You can start with my free ebook, free starter kit. But you're going to get a lot of value from this website. And now I want to wish you happy coding and thank you for staying this long in this presentation. This was the presentation for Autodesk University 2024, and I'm super excited that you've been this far. All right, that was great, that was great. I don't really know what I should do now. Ryan, am I supposed to end it here or?
Recording stopped.
Let me just bring it on the script, great job. All right, thank you, thank you. Bring the cat back. Cat is on the walk. Cat's name is Ricky, thank you. All right, I hope you really enjoyed it. I tried to share it as much as I could, but 60 minutes is actually not a lot of time. I'm from Austria, but originally from Estonia. Take care. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter. If you're going to go to my website, you can sign up to my newsletter. If you're going to download any of my resources like ebook, starter kit, you will be on my newsletter. You will get some kind of link there as well. VS is getting hug of death for ebook. I hope so. Please download it, use it. There's really a lot of value inside. Yeah, thank you everyone. I didn't expect that so many people is still going to be here. I thought it's just going to cut. I did not plan for this at all. I missed the beginning. Are you going to get the recording in the newsletter? The join by downloading one of my links. I need the hoodie. Oh yeah, by the way. I don't sell any merch, any hoodie, maybe one day, but not right now. Closing the session now. Thank you, Ryan, for the support. Great job. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye, and have a good day.